The live data from the lander is being reflected on the screen, right? The countdown to landing is just for reference then. I'm really looking forward to seeing the altitude display. It really adds to the sense of realism. Exactly. It helps you picture the situation more clearly. Just below that, we're also displaying the thruster status of resilience. The large circular shape represents the main thruster, and next to it, you can see the status
Hello,
of the
hello,
6
everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thrusters will fire
We are here for a landing hangout. It's not a launch hangout, it's a landing hangout. The Japanese company iSpace, their second attempt at landing on the moon. We have the broadcast in the background. And the original broadcast is in Japanese, so the one we're listening to is off YouTube, and this is the English version. So you're going to hear someone else translating everything. But yeah, we're here to hang out. 3:17 is roughly Eastern time, so about 45 minutes from now is when landing is. So we're here, we're hanging out. Say hi in the chat. This is your first time, let us know. If you're no G, thanks for joining.
I am Hiroshi Yamakawa, president of JAXA.
I'm going to be doing a little bit of posting, so I'm going to put the broadcast back on.
I thought quite a bit about my speech, but I'm overwhelmed by your passion at the moment. First of all, I would like to offer words of congratulations to everyone who has been working so hard to welcome this day. CEO and founder, Mr. Hakamada, and everyone at iSpace, everyone associated to this event. Up until today, I know all of you made hard effort to come to this point. And many missions and projects we have undertaken at JAXA. We have welcomed many guests like this, so I understand how you feel right now. Quite nervous and thrilled and excited, I'm sure, but at the same time, very excited and passionate about what's going to happen. I feel the same. I'm so looking forward to this. And I have a chance to speak with you. I speak with everyone in the industry every week, and lots of people from all over the world, and lots of people talk about your venture, your project, this Hacked 2 event or project. I'm so looking forward to what's going to happen today. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Yamakawa.
All right, everybody, welcome again. If you've just joined us, a lot of people just joined in. Let us know if you're here in the chat. Say hi. If it's your first time, let us know that too. But welcome. We are hanging out for the iSpace moon landing. It's a Japanese company who's already tried once. This is their second attempt. And they launched on a SpaceX rocket with Firefly Aerospace, which is the only company who's been successful recently in landing on the moon. I think the first commercial company to do so, if I'm not mistaken. So this one took a lot longer to get there, a much less energetic trip to the moon so that they can do a nice soft touch landing. And they're finally there. We're going to be landing in about 45 minutes or so. So we're just hanging out. If you've got questions, let us know in the chat and we'll bring them up. And if you're just hanging out, just say hi. That's it. The broadcast, for those that are new, is in Japanese, but there is a English translation over it. So you'll just hear basically one person talking for the most part, and that's what it is.
Including representatives from the Luxembourg government and the European Space Agency are watching the resilient landers descent in person at the venue. And today we are hearing comments from three distinguished guests. First is the CEO of the Luxembourg Space Agency, Mr. Marc Serres, and the Director of Commercialization, Industry and Competitiveness at the European Space Agency, ESA, Mr. Chiladi Nages, and then also the Dr. Julian Lumman, CEO of iSpace Europe.
Hello, everyone. How is the atmosphere in Luxembourg? Once again, come on, make some noise. There we go. Gotta get it up there. Gotta get it up there. Come on, come on, come on.
Wow, that is intense. Thank you so much. And then just what's new in space in Luxembourg and Europe?
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us from all over the world here in Luxembourg. This means a lot. We have several hundred people here in this movie theater and another movie theater behind me. And of course, everybody came here to witness the landing of Resilience, but also cheer for Tenacious. Tenacious has spent 5 months in space. It's really eager to stretch his legs and go for a ride on the moon. Tenacious means a lot to the crowd here. It was built in Luxembourg by our team, iSpace Europe. Shout out to iSpace Europe, please. And of course, to build a lunar rover in Luxembourg, the first lunar rover in Luxembourg, the first European-built rover to have gone into space. It takes a lot of talent. It takes
That's how
a great
small
team.
the rover is.
Also
A
takes
micro
support,
rover.
trust, and I would say love from the European Space Agency and the Luxembourg Space Agency. And this is why I'm very happy to give the floor to Géraldine Nadja, Director of Commercialization at ESA, and then Marc Serres, CEO of the Luxembourg Space Agency.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Well, I can just say that ESA is extremely proud and thrilled to support
Yes. What up,
iSpace
Heather?
Mission 2. We will provide, we provide ground services, we provide telemetry and tracking, which is essential infrastructure for lunar exploration operations. So we are very happy for that. I would like also to say that this is a very good example of how we can support new space actors in Europe, commercialization. This is, as you know, what we are really eager to do at ESA, and also to support eventually a sustainable European and Japanese presence on the moon. So this is really good. And last, I think Tenacious is hopefully a very successful technological achievement, but beyond the technology, it's also, once again, a symbol of the future of lunar exploration. So very happy
That's the
to be with
micro
you.
rover, Tenacious.
Thank you, Géraldine.
So, of course, I'm very happy, and I think all the team is very happy to be here tonight and part of this really amazing event. It's a very emotional moment to be here and to be connected with you in Japan, to watch this memorable moment. As you heard, there is a lot of excitement, but at the same time, a lot of tension here. We are all sort of looking at what will happen now in a few minutes. This is not only, of course, this very important moment for iSpace, but I think for us it's also a way to celebrate a very good cooperation with another country, with Japan. I think this is something that is very close to our heart. We believe that cooperation is one of the component, the ingredients of success in space. And we have said it several times, this is difficult to go to space. And so this is a really remarkable achievement. Whatever happens, I think we would like here to very warmly congratulate iSpace and the teams behind, because this is an incredible achievement, doing what they have done just in 8 years. I think it's just exceptional, and so we are extremely proud as well to be here and to share these great moments with you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Really cool stuff. So, I mean, unlike a lot of
Everyone in Luxembourg and to our entire-
the missions that we see on the regular, like SpaceX and NASA, right? These are purely American missions, and so this is Japanese and European, and it's really good to see this kind of cooperation going on, because space is not a single country's domain, nor should it be. It's not like the way that we approach space is different from our background, and that's science, that's engineering, right? Your influences influence how you react with the world and build things. So, and science is a language that you can speak, across languages, right? Through math and physics and all that stuff. So um, I'm liking this different vibe from the iSpace mission. But if you are here, if you're new, welcome. Jump in, say hi in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. If it's your first time, say me in the chat. But yeah, we are listening to the English dubbed Japanese broadcast for iSpace. There's a lander, which is Resilience, and on board Resilience are a bunch of commercial payloads because this is a company sending, getting paid to send instruments, scientific instruments to the moon. And if they're successful, they will be among a very short list of countries and one company that has gone to the moon and landed before. So that is going to be really cool if they can do it. As they touched on this, it is very difficult. We've been lucky in the last 5-10 years to have multiple countries attempt landing on the moon. There's China, India, um, Israel, the U.S., and companies, and I may be missing one. I don't know if Russia's tried to land something in a while, but in history, right? That it's not a long list that has done it, and a good portion of those that have launched and tried to land on the moon have failed. And it's not easy. It's not a place we've gone before. It's untamed lands, if you will. So these moon landings are really cool. I enjoy them a lot, and I hope you do too. If you have questions about anything, we're here to learn together. So let us know in the chat. We'd be happy to start a conversation. But we'll put the broadcast on in the background. I'll do a little bit more posting and we'll hang out. Got about what is that 30-40 minutes before touchdown. All right.
Ohio gozaimasu to everybody in Tokyo. Kevin-san and Shitako-san, can you hear us?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Oh, super, super. So like I said, we got a whole bunch of people here. We're all really, really excited. So far, we've been talking about the historic significance of the regolith transfer that we're going to do and how innovative activities like that, innovative programs like the NASA CLIPS program is going to spark a commercial lunar market that's going to allow us to take off exponentially in our development of the moon, of our exploration of the moon, and that's going to lead to a significant permanent human presence on the moon for the benefit of all. And as you have already mentioned, I'm joined here by Karen Feldstein, NASA's Associate Administrator in the Office of International and Interagency Relations, and Dave Cabosa, the President of the Commercial Space Federation. And Karen, do you have some words you want to say to our global iSpace team, to people that are viewing from all around the world?
Love to. Thank you. First of all, greetings to Tokyo, and if you can hear us in Luxembourg, it is incredibly exciting to celebrate this moment together with our partners all over the world. We are so excited to see this mission today. You've talked about these big milestones. We are so proud at NASA of our CLIPS program and the stimulation we've given to creating this lunar economy and creating a predictable environment. So important to operating at the moon. We have also inspired our president to propose for NASA the commercial Mars payload system as well, to launch robotic precursor missions to the Martian surface. So on and on we go. We know now astronauts from Japan will walk with America on the surface of the moon through Artemis, and that will learn how to live and work together on another world. So we celebrate all of you, all of the amazing engineers and scientists watching tonight. Good luck, iSpace.
Thank you, Karen. Dave, would you like to add some words to that?
Thank you, Ron. The current golden age of space exploration didn't happen by chance. Advocates and policymakers in the United States and throughout the world have worked for decades to open space to commercial space exploration and public-private partnerships, just like we're watching today. We've worked for decades to commercialize and make space launch affordable. We've worked for decades, and to be honest, we're still working to ensure that commercial entities like iSpace can launch and operate safely in space through common sense policies, best practices, and reasonable regulations. We are stronger and can achieve more together with these dynamic public-private partnerships that leverage private investment and industry's innovation. Godspeed resilience.
All right, with that, back to you, Kevin-san, and Godspeed resilience, Godspeed to me.
All right. So a lot of good stuff shared there. I did want to touch on some of it because I think it's really important to discuss. So the chat is open if you have any questions. But what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about that. So a lot of people will ask, I remember when I started the Today in Space podcast, this was 10 years ago. And back then, the shuttle had just retired. SpaceX was not launching rockets like all the time. So it was a very different era. And when the space shuttle was retired, people thought that, you know, we stopped going to space, because we stopped sending humans on American rockets. Now that's a very American thing to think, but it had been happening this whole time, right? The U.S. was paying Russia per seat to send astronauts up to the International Space Station, which has had multiple decades of continuous human traveling on board. But like that's where we've spent a lot of the resources on space. It's been in orbit around Earth. We haven't gone back to the moon since the Apollo era ended. So this is a brand new time where NASA's shooting for the moon. Artemis 1 orbited the moon robotically, and Artemis 2 is planned to launch. Um, a lot of that plan is still in flux. Artemis 3 should be using the Starship from SpaceX because they were awarded the human landing contract to go to the moon. And then all these companies have been invested. Japan having a company bringing themselves to the moon, NASA funding different companies, especially American companies like Intuitive Machines and Firefly, which was successful landing on the moon not that long ago. So there's this push to go back to the moon, but the moon is like a frontier, right? It is not something that we have gone to very far. We don't have GPS everywhere. We don't know what all the surfaces are like. We've seen footage, but we don't have a good idea of everything on the moon. So it's like traveling to the Americas for the first time. So a lot of these missions are about sending equipment that helps us understand the moon. And iSpace is one of the companies building the landers, and in this case, the micro rover that's going to have a camera if they land successfully, which is going to be really cool. But these are the companies that are allowing the, like, lunar economy, whatever that is, to exist, but there's demand to go to the moon and to understand it better, and China's going. Russia doesn't have many plans, but I would, wager that they're probably gonna get more involved, like they used to, and the US obviously has, NASA investing in companies doing this, right? So there is a huge push that's been a long time coming back to the moon, and this is one of those missions that could be very historic. So thank you for joining us again. If you're new, come say hi. Leave a comment in the chat. We'd love to chat with you. If you're brand new, let us know. And thank you for joining us. We just missed that whole video. I'm gonna go back and unmute so we can listen.
Well, thank you again to Elizabeth and everyone in Denver, and thank you as well to the entire iSpace and the US team for watching and supporting that M2 landing. This truly shows how iSpace operates as a private company within a global network, bringing together around 1,500 people across 4 international locations to support this mission.
And for those that are just joining in, this is the English
Japanese and
broadcast.
versions
So
is being watched
it's
by
the
a
original
large audience
broadcast
around
is
the
in
world.
Japanese.
Thank you all
Japanese
so
company,
much for
which I
your
love.
incredible support from all corners
But it might be
of the
confusing.
world. Thank you. Well, now that we've felt the incredible energy of support from around the world, we have another very special message to share. We're honored to present a message from the 32nd U.S. Ambassador to Japan, Ambassador George Glass, who assumed his post just this spring.
Greetings from one mission control to another. I'm George Glass, United States Ambassador to Japan. I know how nervous you all must be feeling right now as you wait for the Resilience lander to touch down. And in 1969, I sat transfixed like millions around the world watching Apollo 11 lunar module land on the moon. But the toughest part of that was the waiting for Neil Armstrong to open the hatch, descend the ladder, and take those historic first steps for mankind. While I'm unable to be there with you on behalf of the United States, I want to wish Hakamata-san and the entire iSpace team the very best of luck. You embody the same pioneering and resolute spirit that launched the Apollo program and all those missions that have sought to push back the frontiers of space. The United States and Japan have already accomplished so much together and in our exploration and understanding of space. And this mission, which began with a SpaceX rocket lifting off from Kennedy Space Center in January, takes us further on that trajectory. iSpace's achievements are helping pave the way for an American astronaut to walk on the moon again, and this time with a Japanese astronaut by their side. Just as we are learning and building together, we are dreaming together as well, limited only by our imagination. Thank you and good luck. The world is rooting for you.
All right, nice words. Let's see. So, if one thing to touch on those comments is like, again, like when we went to space for the Apollo era, right? Like we're not using that technology anymore, and they only had, they were trained pilots, test pilots, right? So they were able to pilot this. Ideally, if we're gonna send humans to space long term, and this is for every country, right? If we're going to make humanity go through space, all of these missions are using technology that's going to help us learn things on how to be successful. So I'm going to turn back to this because this will be important.
I am also excited and nervous. I'm truly honored and happy to witness this historical moment with all of you, this historical challenge by iSpace, and also great expectations for our space industry of Japan. I'm feeling that very vividly. The lander's name is Resilience, as you know. Just as the name suggests, Mission 2 is a re-challenge, a bold attempt to return to the moon, drawing strength from last year's experience. And I'm hoping that it can take some images of the Earth from the surface of the moon. Quite nervous and excited. And I would like to share with you messages from people all around the world, or for the people from viewing from the world. This is not just a challenge, but it's a great challenge of people who will never quit or never give up.
To everyone watching this event from around the world, this is more than just a landing. This is a call for those who never give up. Let's witness this historic moment together. Thank you. ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
Never give up. Never surrender.
Mr. Kyuchi, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Who knows where that's from?
Thank you so much,
What movie am I
Mr.
quoting?
Kyuchi, Minister Kyuchi, for joining us today. Now, Resilience Lander is continuing its descent toward the lunar surface smoothly. Let's take a closer look at the landing process. Please watch this explanation from the Hector.
All right, folks. And remember, if you got any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat or just say hi. But let's learn more about the landing phases here.
After configuring the spacecraft, the team will send a command to initiate the automatic descent sequence. Throughout this time, the spacecraft will slowly get closer to the surface of the moon while reducing its speed until finally it's close enough and slow enough to gently touch on the surface of the moon. At that time, the team will regain control and we'll start the preparations for the surface operations phase.
So just before we start the landing phase, we are about 100 kilometers above the surface of the moon, and then we start our first phase of the landing, which is the deorbit insertion. This is a very short fire from the lander, which basically tries to bring us closer to the surface of the moon. We come to around 18 to 25 kilometers to the moon. And once that finishes, we start the second phase of landing, which we call the coast descending phase. In this phase, the lander is basically just coasting around and trying to get closer and closer to the moon's surface. And then, right about when we are closest to the moon, which is around 18 kilometers, we start the third
Some of the
phase,
best
which is the
simulations
burn
I've
phase.
seen of the
This is the phase
lunar
where we
landing.
try to reduce the
It shows how
horizontal
fast
velocity
everything
as
is
much
actually
as we
moving.
can. We were going very fast, so we fire all of our thrusters, we burn very furiously, and then we try to reduce it as much as we can. And after a certain amount of time, we reach the fourth phase, which is the braking burn / pitch up phase. So we were horizontal before.
This is where the money is
to
made.
approach our landing site, and then we reach the fifth phase of our landing, which is the terminal descent phase. At this time, our lander is almost vertical. We have reduced almost all of the horizontal velocity, and now we are
Loving the
slowly
simulation
approaching
view.
our landing site. After about just 20 meters or 10 meters above the surface, we reach the sixth phase, which is the terminal landing. At this point, we cut off our main engines and we are only landing slowly with the assist thrusters and trying to land as softly as we can on our landing site. And once that finishes, we are at the moon.
So cool. Man, that's some great science communication right there.
Thank you, everyone.
I really
at
like
the
that a lot.
MCC. By the way, we have a total of.
It's difficult to be a science communicator. We do space science podcast, right? So I would consider myself a science communicator. It's really not that easy to get videos that portray reality well. A lot of them are like marketing-like videos, right, where they look really cool, but they're not really telling you. It's like a space movie for the most part. There's a few that do it really well, but they're showing you things that are like not actually how things work. And that video showing the relative speed of the spacecraft, if your perspective is I'm on the spacecraft, the speeds of the lunar surface moving underneath, spot on iSpace, that was killer. I love that. ETA for landing. What's up, Rick? Yes, it does seem like a many country effort. Europe, Japan, and then there's a bunch of payloads that are on board from commercial customers. I can pull that list up. But 3:17, so about 20 minutes from now, we should be landing. But that's an estimate, so it could be faster, it could be longer, but generally, that's when they're planning to land.
GOI, Universal Century Charter Plate, created as part of the
Bandai.
Bantam
Oh, good. They're
Open
going through all
Innovation
the
Project led by the Bantam
all the
Namco
payloads
Bandai
here.
Namco Group.
Sweet.
And finally, as a payload on the Tenacious rover, there's a small red art object called the Moon House, created by a Swedish artist. In addition to the payloads mentioned above, Resilience is also carrying a memory disk from UNESCO designed to preserve humanity's linguistic and cultural heritage. They are transporting quite a variety of things. Mission 2 is not only a technology demonstration for accelerating lunar development, but also a part of the HACTO-R program designed to validate iSpace's business model for lunar transportation services. Let's welcome someone who knows the Resilience lander better than anyone. Joining us now is Mr. Yoshitsugu Hitachi, Executive Vice President of Engineering at iSpace and the lead for Mission 2 development.
All right, here we go. More data.
Mr. Hitachi, good evening or good morning
EVP of
or good day.
Japan Engineering
I'm confused now. Well, I'd like to ask you about Resilience that's now on its way to landing on the moon. Could you share with us, frankly, how you're feeling right now? Let's see.
Those are the eyes of an engineer.
After mission 1,
Tired.
in order to welcome today, we have been preparing so hard to be fully prepared for today. And earlier, I was a bit nervous, but on the stage, looking over you, all of you, I am beyond nervous. And what we as a team are trying to achieve, I am looking forward to that. I am rather excited.
Like
My
NASCAR-like
heartbeat
jacket.
is so strong that it'll probably jump onto the moon. That's how excited and thrilled I am right now. It's been 2 years since mission.
But yes, just to answer Rick's question again, in case anyone hadn't heard, or if you're just joining us, 3:17 Eastern time, so it's about 20 minutes from now they should be landing. But we should get a countdown clock when it gets close.
We did not succeed in lunar landing. However, in a sense, it was a successful experience for us because we are now able to leverage what has been learned from that experience, reflect that onto our next mission. And there are a lot of things we did for mission 1, and our team members experienced all of those. And we are now endeavoring to achieve this new mission. We have come this far, and the team has grown so much. Good, amazing leadership and followership. With those, we have built a strong team spirit. And this is not just brown-nosing. This is not to brown-nose our team members. But every day, I work with each member of the team. And I know how much they have put into this work through our daily conversation and seeing them every day, how they work. I know how passionate they are. Every day I feel that firsthand. The team is marvelous. It's amazing. Thank you. The team has grown so much more even. And another question that I have is regarding the engineers. I'm sure they're busy right now. What's the atmosphere like at the site or MCC?
Stressed.
Yes. As was announced at the MCC earlier, the OI detachment or departure from the orbit has been completed. Right now, it's going into the autonomous driving phase. So many different preparations are necessary for that, and that's very important. And they have been very busy because of that.
Pull up the actual definition.
The moment to go into the autonomous driving, we have been preparing perfectly for that moment.
I want to know what brown nosing is in Japanese now. I'll have to ask my brother.
After the landing, whatever happens, we should be able to cope with it. Because we're ready, we're prepared. That's why we've been very busy to make ourselves prepared for that. Okay, so at the moment, Resilience is autonomously proceeding with its landing sequence, and when it transitions to the next landing phase, it will adjust its thruster firings for altitude control and continue descending toward the lunar surface. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. We're so looking forward to it. Can't wait. Thank you, Hitachi-san. Mr. Hitachi.
Here we go. Getting closer. Yeah, so just to jump ahead, if you're brand new, welcome. This is Today in Space. We're doing a launch hangout. And, well, these are usually called launch hangouts because we're usually watching launches. This is a moon landing, so a little bit different, but nonetheless, we're hanging out. So we got some good graphics coming up here, so let's switch over.
Surface operations and our colleagues in Luxembourg at the Mission Control Room, where they will be preparing for the tenacious rover deployment. The lunar surface is a whole new regime. It's a whole different world.
It's a micro rover.
On the surface, we'll be watching our power and temperature very closely until we say a final good night to Resilience.
After we pass the 48-hour mark of the initial surface operations, we enter a routine phase where all of us, the operations team, continue to monitor the spacecraft 24 hours while taking pictures, taking videos, and continue operating the rover.
Nice, got a little shovel. Yes, HD video! Deep Space Radiation Probe. Water electrolyzer equipment. Food production experiment. Tenacious micro rover. the moon house. Commemorative alloy plate from Bandai.
ランダーに搭載された太陽電池パネルで発電するため、月の日中しか活動することができません。月の日中は約
Can survive lunar night.
After 14 days has passed since we landed on the lunar surface, the mission is coming to an end. We drive the rover towards the sunset, say goodnight to our lander. We decommission the Resilience lander and the Tenacious rover, and this marks the end of mission 2.
Wow, 14 days. Nothing survives the cold lunar night.
Thank you to the MCC team for the explanation.
Looks like as long as they've got sunlight, so 28 days lunar cycle.
We have about
so
13
you've got 14 days, it sounds like, of that to survive, and then it's so cold for 14 days that the battery
It's really
dies.
exciting. Let's hear your excitement. You know, there you have your resilience.
Landing burn started.
We just now heard the announcement. Breaking burn phase. So the phase 3 breaking burn has just started.
Pulling down the
It
speed.
will take 10 minutes to decelerate. So 2,000 kilometers per
10,
hour.
15 minutes.
Is
All right, so we're
will rapidly decelerate.
320-ish.
Right. I hope that this excitement of this venue is coming through on the stream as well. We're just moments away from Japan's and Asia's first ever private lunar landing. Now, even if mission 2 ends in a successful landing, that doesn't mean it's the final goal for iSpace. That's right. I'd like us to take a step back from the mission at hand and talk a bit about iSpace's future that lies ahead.
Welcome, everybody, to Today in Space. This is a moon landing hangout for iSpace's M2 mission, their second attempt at landing on the moon. We're going to hear more from the iSpace team here on the future of iSpace.
Started, really. Right, thank you for joining us. So, question to Nozaki-san. I often get questions from investors like, what's next after mission 2 if it succeeds or if the landing doesn't go as planned? Does that mean it's all over? So, some concerns and some questions, what would you say to these? I completely understand, those questions and concerns, but please rest assured, Mission 2 is incredibly important, but just as important is the fact that iSpace is committed to going to the moon again and again, and we do have this, after Mission 2, we plan to launch Mission 3 and Mission 4 towards the moon by 2027.
Right. Different lander.
And so we'll be using the Apex 1.0 lander, this image, and our Series 3 lander for those missions. We actually have a video of the latest prototype of the Series 3 lander.
Yes, video.
So
That's
this
pretty
is
big.
Currently under development, Series 3. Cool looking, and it's even larger than the current and Resilience lander, standing over 3 meters tall. And it's designed to carry several hundred kilograms of clients and payload to the moon, much more than before. And, instead of, the 4 to 5 months it used to take, this new model will reach the moon in just about 1 month. You're actually doing everything in a very fast speed. And it's really important.
That is a big difference with this mission for sure, is that they took 5 months from launch to the moon, which means you needed less energy to get there, which is good. And it changes, you can send something much smaller to the moon. And with it being smaller, ideally you would have more control over that as you're landing. There's less momentum to deal with. Your fuel is a little bit more efficient, but this is just to send scientific payloads, not the potential of like a human spacecraft or something like that. So the bigger landers are ideal for that kind of thing.
for the landing. So
All right,
9
landing's coming up here.
L minus 9 minutes. And so let's have, the
9
founder,
minutes until landing.
Hamada-san coming on the stage.
9 minutes, folks. Remember, this team was unsuccessful the first time, but
Good morning,
close.
everybody. Luxembourg
Rover's name Resilience.
and U.S. members, good evening. Well, this is, finally we're here. How are you feeling right now? Well,
Questions in the chat if you got them.
Well, led by our engineers, we've carried out Mission 2 by fully applying the lessons and experiences gained from Mission 1. And, and Mission 2 too, even before, this is amazing that we have come this far. Engineers did everything they possibly could. So I want to face this landing moment with everybody with confidence, trusting everything we've done to get here.
It's not easy to do.
Right. Thank you very much for sharing what's in your mind. I guess in each and every day, every lesson that we've learned is being put to use in this mission to lunar landing and surface exploration.
What happened the first time?
Yes.
So, good question. So the first time they had attempted the soft landing and they lost contact with it. It looked like it succeeded, and it ended up impacting the surface. And they I believe lost contact with it, which I could be wrong about that, but I do know that losing contact with the rover, or whatever's landing, not so much a rover, a lander, is a pretty common thing. And actually, if the lander gets into a basin, they're trying to land in a very flat area on the moon this time, which is less problems, right? But if your spacecraft's going into a basin, which I think this happened with Intuitive Machines, it lost communication with the satellite and with Earth, and then there was something wrong with that sensor on that one, and it ended up sideways. But the lander did not make it on their first attempt, and so hopefully they've figured out what happened. The engineers adjusted it. A lot of times they'll add on new things or maybe more redundancies, so that'll be more successful the next time.
Employees, all these iSpace members, and friends and family, those the member dear and near to our members, we are really grateful and we're very happy. And I'd also like to thank MSBC for their support as an unofficial partner of Hakuto R and for providing this wonderful venue. So engineers has been at the core, and we've been doing everything we possibly could, and let's witness and let's experience this moment. And I'm just extremely happy that I can experience this with you all, and the journey continues. And I hope that you will continue to be a part of it. Well, thank you, Hakamada-san. Well, it's almost time. It's L minus 5 minutes, and I'm getting
close. I'm just looking up the
so from here
the exact
on, we will bring you live
issue.
commentary from Hitachi-san alongside of our leading.
It ran out of fuel the last time.
So where are we? So in terms of
That is a space problem, running out of
phase,
fuel.
we're already in the third phase of breaking burn phase, and 1,800.
And what had happened on that broadcast, turn this down. What had happened on that first broadcast was that the animation, like we're seeing right here, was showing the telemetry of the landing. So it looked like it landed, but it had actually lost communication. But the reason it failed was because they lost fuel. So, like, taking this extended landing approach and saving as much fuel on board is what they most likely did, if I had to guess. Getting real efficient with the fuel, and one of the cool things about this, before we hit this landing, while I still have a moment to say this into the universe before it happens, the only commercial company to land on the moon was Firefly Aerospace, and that was a few months ago. They flew on the same exact rocket as so iSpace and Resilience and Tenacious. They all rode on the same SpaceX rocket. So this would be really interesting how this plays out. But they apparently are on a very good rocket together. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
And we need to wait for the official announcement. So you might get excited, as soon as you see number zero, but it'd be great. And if you can wait, we will hear, the live
Here we go, people.
announcement, over the speaker, and let's celebrate, when we hear the official announcement. So this is going to be,
let's go.
Very quiet moment, waiting for the very, very special moment, but. Well, you see this, altitude is only 5 kilometers and the speed is much less. It's like
So we're going real slow.
airplane
It's just gonna.
speed.
This is what you need for soft landing,
So 500 kilometers per hour is, the deceleration has been very rapidly happening. It's less than 4 kilometers. All the thrusters are working perfectly, is how I see on the screen. So now it's less than 400 kilometers per hour, and it's only 3 kilometers in altitude. This is a bullet train kind of speed, so you can probably imagine what it's like. This is everything is working out great.
Landing site.
The lander is going to start changing the attitude.
Yes, spacecraft animations.
Now you're seeing this sideways, but it's going to be going to be standing horizontally, and this is the simulation. So we're almost right above the landing site. Right, thank you very much. And these two lines, the yellow line is showing where the sun is.
So coming in,
white line is indicating
now it's starting to tilt and drop as it's on its trajectory to the landing site.
Telemetry would have a moment where we can't see the numbers, but that's just the telecommunication.
All right, under a minute. I mean, a minute, 23 seconds.
So telemetry.
And it's estimated because the way they know is that the lander communicates back to them. So if we don't hear anything, it didn't make it, but there's still going to be a lag on when we hear. So about a minute.
Just a little more. So it's less than a minute until the scheduled landing time.
The animation is not caught up yet.
Let's see.
Again, we just have to wait until it's landed.
Less than a minute away. Very, very.
If you're joining us, welcome. We're here for
everyone's super concentrated.
The moon landing here, iSpace.
Let's wait patiently.
We're waiting for the lander to touch down and send communication back to Earth.
And we need to check the telemetry.
So what makes landing so nerve-wracking?
This is, where we need to be patient and wait for just a while. We already passed the scheduled time.
Man, how nervous you must be in that room. It could look like everything was going right.
How it is on the surface.
And now as an engineer, mission control, you're used to data, and now you're just waiting for it. God. The stress. Last time they ran out of fuel. It seemed like they took a lot of approaches to save as much fuel as possible.
I can see
communication blackouts are common.
On everyone's face in MCC. They're confirming the
There's only a certain amount of
communication
satellites
with
around the
the
moon, so
lander. It might take some time before the confirmation. That'd be great if you can bear with us.
the tension. Now they wait.
We're still
Will they
in the
get
process of confirmation and
a response from the rover and the lander? It's the lander that they need. I keep saying rover. I'm used to Mars landings. I haven't seen that many moon landings. It's usually a rover. Man, years of work. Yeah, 2022 was the last time this mission was attempted. 3 years of long, hard, difficult, complex, complicated work
crowded than its normal.
to wait for communications from the lander.
So it can take some more time, right? That's done. So
Movement in the room. Not sure what to make of that. Maybe a bunch of people that just need to unwind while they wait.
Before sharing the status to people in the venue and those who are watching online.
Now they're trying to see what they can see, probably comparing against what they expected. Who knows if they're getting anything, but it looks like we've got a little bit of activity over here.
Had you waiting, but we could actually play some video, which we couldn't do before because of this, the timing has come. So it'd be great and if you can wait and while watching these videos, but I will
So
make
this
sure
looks
to update
this
you
looks
as
more
soon as
like
we
a team
hear
of engineers
any news.
trying to come up with answers, not necessarily for a problem, but what will they do next? Got no audio here, but this looks like the inside of the lander. I recognize connectors like that. A lot of engineering components I've worked with have those connectors. Lots of Kapton tape, which is masking tape. Mounting the engines there on the lander. Lots of cabling, custom stuff. And these things are put together in clean rooms, you can see them. They're all bunny suited up, and that's to keep it free of any oils or other debris, hair, just things that you didn't expect. That's why they built these things in a green room. That looks like a fuel tank, most likely. Maybe that was guidance, navigation, and control. That's the tenacious rover there, micro rover that's on board. If they're successful, we'll see that roll out onto the surface, and 14 days of hopefully an HD camera and a little rover with a shovel. But for those that are just joining, we're waiting for confirmation on what happened with the lander. It seems like it's at the point where they should have heard back. We don't know yet if that's a problem, but what they're showing here, it looks like this is the Resilience lander, their second lander that they built, that just attempted to land on the moon. It does have the ability to make adjustments for itself. It could be a communication blackout. They were, I believe, supposed to have landed in a very flat plane, but that could also mean there was a lot of debris, right? So if the thrusters are putting up a bunch of dust, that means that the antenna that's supposed to communicate data, where it is, all that stuff, say, hey, I'm alive, like that could be blocked by the dust. And depending on how much of that dust went up, that could be a problem. But eventually, even though there's not a ton of satellites that they can use, there should be, and they've planned for this, periods and satellites and, are they getting some data but not all of it? What can they see from that data? What can an engineer kind of like backtrack and try to understand? But it's one of the most stressful situations, but also why a lot of these people, like the rush of being a troubleshooter and being in the moment of, on the team that ideally is successful at landing on the moon. The question will be, how successful are they, right? The last time they ran out of fuel, and they lost communication beforehand, but the lander could have brought itself to the moon. This time it seemed like, well, we don't know yet, but it seemed like they had good control over the fuel. They did lose communication, but again, that's like a pretty common thing. So we're just waiting to hear. So if you're joining, thank you. Here we're seeing the assembly of all the components. One thing I saw was like a torque screw, which sets an exact amount of torque to a screw, so that way you're not over tightening it, and that whatever force they chose the specific screw to hold that thing down, it'll be exactly what they wanted, and you kind of take out the human error of it. But we're looking at views of the tenacious micro rover. Heat shield. Well, not heat shield. Thermal shielding for probably the electronics. To keep whatever warmth they generate inside. Not overheat it when it's in the sun, too. But yeah, they're all bunny suited up. Like if you're working on something in space, especially like hardware, you're going to spend a lot of time in a bunny suit. All right, so we're still a lot of quiet here. Thank you. 52 people across all the streams joining. Thank you for being here. This is the moon landing hangout for iSpace, and this is Japan's commercial company. They sent the Resilience lunar lander with we're watching here, the tenacious micro rover, and a bunch of commercial partners and technologies that are on board. And they're showing here the assembly of all of that stuff. But they just attempted the moon landing. It is past where they expected to hear back from the rover, but that's all estimated. And like we talked about just a second ago, it's very possible that the lunar dust could have gotten on the way of the antennas communicating with the satellites, so that way they can hear from it. But they were starting this video here that doesn't have sound. I think they planned it, but it's not playing with sound. But it's a pretty cool view at how delicate everything is on a spacecraft. There's amazing things like carbon fiber and titanium and aluminum. But, when you're flying something to space, you can only send so much mass at one time, right? So you're seeing some of this stuff and how delicate they really need to be with it. And that's part of the design for mass reduction, right? For something to be light enough to be really, I want to say conservative, but meaningful and intentional with the amount of mass you send up. Because you won't have any more. Otherwise, you won't have enough fuel to do whatever you need. So we're just seeing how complex the guts of the lander and the payloads are. I think, just to stall some time here, when I was in school for aerospace engineering, like this is the job.
It'd be great,
right
and if you can wait with us just a little more.
Okay, so the engineers gathering all the data and trying to understand the state of it. It sounds like they've gotten some kind of data back from that response. The question is, what happened? Did it land successfully and something didn't deploy that they need? Like maybe the power didn't start? Or maybe they lost power and it's not the solar panels aren't generating enough power? Could dust have been a culprit here? Are they only getting partial data and not the whole thing, you know? There could be multiple lines of data they're looking for, and they're only getting maybe, you know, like a heartbeat, but no telemetry or no power readings, that type of thing. But really cool views here. I can speak English, I promise. Of the spacecraft, the lander, the rover inside, and then all those payloads. And I do like that iSpace took the NASCAR approach and put all the business partners on there. I don't know. I kind of like it. Maybe that's the American in me. But I mean, hey, if those people are going to pay and be customers, why not? Doesn't bother me. All right, folks. If you are joining us, welcome. If you got any questions, hit us up in the chat. But we are waiting. Very shortly, we should hear from the iSpace team. They were trying to figure out what state the lander was in. We don't know what that implies. Did they land? Did they not land? Did they land but they're broken? Are they waiting for satellite confirmation? You know, was there a planned orbit of something going by that could have given information on what's going on with the rover, the lander? So we'll see. Seems like we just got this video on loop until they've got an answer. So who's new to space? Is this like you just pop it in because you thought it was interesting? Do you follow space a lot? If you do, what are you excited about? There's a lot of space going on right now, even though there's a lot that could happen with NASA in the next year, which we'll be doing a podcast on. You know, the funding at NASA's right now, pretty large cuts to NASA's budget that could cancel entire programs. So we will see how that plays out politically, but not to the optimism that I have in all that is that we just spent the last 10 years of the US and NASA investing in commercial partners, which means that NASA and these space programs, like for Japan, it would be JAXA, government-run space programs are not the only way to do space travel. Because if these cuts had come and companies like SpaceX and iSpace for Japan and so many others, Rocket Lab in the US, Blue Origin, if none of these other commercial companies existed, then the cuts at NASA could have been devastating. It could have ended the space program. Now, while the cuts happening doesn't mean that space progress is going to continue at the rate that it has been the last 10 years, it does mean that in the situation where the budgets at NASA are cut in half, there is still a pretty healthy and very exciting private side of space that's happening. And a lot of Europe saw what happened with SpaceX's Falcon 9 and how much they're able to launch and just a whole new approach at going to space and what happens if the cost of going to space goes down. And so the good thing is that even though NASA's budget may go down, again, not happy about it, but if it does, the cost of going to space will still be lower than it's been in history, at least with a lot of different rockets. And if that continues, then NASA can ride out whatever happens. It's going to take if the cuts that are proposed happen, it's going to put the US behind with a lot of progress, where a country like China that is only adding more investment into their space program, which there really isn't a private Chinese space program, but there's going to be a lot there's going to be a lot of momentum behind them, and NASA, let's say the planetary side, um, going to other planets to learn more about the solar system, that's going to drop down, and it's going to take years before that recovers. I remember when I first started the podcast, and I got NASA does this thing where they do NASA Social, and it's a program where if you have a social media account, you can apply. It doesn't necessarily have to be about space, but if you're excited about space and you do post about it even just a little bit, or you're just a huge fan, you can sign up for this and potentially get chosen, and you can go to these visits where you can visit. This is in the U.S., but you can go and visit. I went to the Applied Physics Laboratory in Maryland on the first time. We got to go to the National Air and Space Museum that was there, and that was incredible.
And those who are
go back.
watching online, and I know that a lot of you have joined us in a very extreme time of the day. And how's the situation? So we haven't been able to confirm, but the MCC members will continuously attempt to communicate with the lander, and we will be reporting you the latest state in the media interviewing that's scheduled.
Oh wow, they're going to push us to media interview.
So we need to never quit the lunar quest, as the spirit would like to keep.
All right.
In finishing this.
Bunch of people just joined.
Live streaming for now. Thank you very much for joining us.
All right. So they ended the stream. So what does that mean? So it could mean a bunch of things. If you're just joining us, a bunch of people just came in last minute towards the end of this broadcast. Thank you for joining us. This was the iSpace Mission 2 landing. Trajectory looked good on the way in, but they, just like the first time, lost communication with the Lunar Rover. Not an uncommon thing. That's actually very common with moon landings because the dust comes up. They were in a pretty flat area for landing, so could have been a lot of dust. But the problem is that didn't sound like they were getting any data or could confirm the state of the lander. Now that could mean a bunch of different things, but to me, what that means is that they don't have a firm answer on what's going on with the lander. Like, there could be a lot of things, right? We're seeing up here, you've got solar panels on the outside. Did those get covered in dust? Is it landed, but they don't know what orientation it is, right? Did a leg snap on the way down? Or did they run out of fuel like the first time? I mean, that's entirely possible. These spacecraft are equipped with some type of intelligence, right? It's not AI, but it's some type of intelligence on how it's going to navigate itself in space. So there could be a lot of different things that happen, right? Let's just say if the lander is coming in and it's taking its approach down and it's spewing up dust, does a sensor that it knows where it is, its guidance, navigation, and control, if that loses where it is, then because of the dust or whatever about that landing situation, then it would try to fire and reorient itself to whatever it thinks it is. That's a case where a lot of things can go awry, because you could waste a bunch of fuel on the way down that you needed for the perfect landing. So you could run out of fuel. You could end up, if you lose where you are in three-dimensional space, then it's just going to start firing. And then those adjustments, it doesn't know where it's going, and it's going to keep trying to make them. So in that case, which would be extremely rare, something catastrophic would have had to have happened for that to happen. But that could obviously cause a failure. But from my experience, and I don't have a ton of experience with moon landings, but we've been very lucky to have a bunch of countries and now companies attempt this, some a few times. And so for this one, on this second landing, it'll be interesting to see. We're not going to get an update until they do the press later. We'll try to go on for that. But that's it, folks. Thank you for joining me for this moon landing hangout. Sad to see the broadcast end in such an abrupt way with not much to say, but this is space travel, right? And also science, right? You don't want to say something before you even have any answer. And it sounds like they don't have an answer yet. And that could take many different forms. It could just be that they've lost communication with the spacecraft, and it's completely fine on the surface. So we'll have to see what happened, but wishing the team at iSpace luck, because anyone trying to attempt the final frontier and land on the moon, which is such an untouched thing. It's a new frontier and a wild frontier, right? We don't really know what the surface is like until we get there. And there's many parts of the moon that we actually haven't been to or have only done satellite imagery from. We don't know a lot about the moon, and that's this next phase of space travel between the moon and Mars, using the moon as the stepping ground to get good at traveling to another place in space. The moon, you can do that, within a few days, weeks, right? And you have a backup plan that again is very short. Mars, very different, where you basically it's a 9-month journey there, and then you've got to wait until the orbits align before you come back. So you're really looking at a 3-year, I believe it is, mission for Mars, and there's no backup plan. We don't even have like a space station you could dock to if your landing doesn't work. So Mars is a lot riskier. And there are things like SpaceX's Starship that is going to try and land there in as quick as next year, but unlikely. But basically, you've got every 2 years you have a chance at Mars. So will be 2028 would be the next one, and yeah, that will be very interesting and unique. And the fact that they want to put Tesla robots, humanoid robots, on Starship for those landings is a very interesting idea. Instead of like sending a rover, if you can send something that's like a human, then you can test out a lot of things for humans on Mars before they even get there. Before in like a lot of space ideas of like what space travel could be like for Mars, and humans going there, it's about sending like a rover or something to like 3D print a structure, right? So humans can live in. But you basically would be sending robots to build things on Mars before you got there, and we could do that on the moon too. But the idea of sending humanoid robots is interesting, because then you could you could test out just so many different things before humans get out in the way that humans would do it. And it provides a really unique thing, but I don't know how well the robots work for Tesla and how they would survive a space trip. But if they are able to try it, that'll be really interesting. So there's a lot happening in space. A bunch of people joining in. Thank you. We were just live for watching the iSpace lunar landing attempt, the second one. But they ended the stream. They didn't have confirmation about the state of the actual lander. So that could mean a lot of things. It could mean it's fine and they can't communicate with it. It could mean that something happened the first time they lost fuel after they lost communication with the lander. So, we hope they didn't make the same problems, that they learned from the previous mistakes. And then the question will be, how much did they learn? How much further towards a successful landing did they actually get? Because they, as they said, they still have plans to do at least 2 more missions. The next one wouldn't be with this lander, at least planned right now. It would be with a larger lander. And so then the question there is, how much new things do they need to figure out, or that now that they don't know about on this next lander? So if they aren't successful here, do they choose to go one more mission with the same lander? Use, potentially, if it's something that they can solve, that they're confident they can solve, do you go one more with this lander and try to get there? Or do you move ahead with the next design and try to learn along the way? Those are the decisions that could potentially be on board for iSpace as a company, and it'll be interesting to see how a company's approach versus, say, like a government approach like NASA or JAXA, the Japanese Japanese space program. How do those different entities approach landing on the moon? And how do you adjust your plan when, like most things in space, you are not successful the first time? The Apollo moon landing is a rarity that they landed on their first landing attempt on the moon. And part of that was because they had extremely trained test pilots on board in order to do that. So I think that's it, folks. Unless you guys have any questions, I think we're going to sign off here. We're going to try to find out when they will go live for their broadcast to give us an update. But we hope it's good. We hope that there's still a chance that they at least got on the surface intact. And then the question will be, can they perform their 2-week mission with the Tenacious Rover? And do any of the companies that have payloads on board, can they still get data? Because even a failed lander, but the equipment on board can still get data for the companies that joined that lander, even that is a big success for a company that's never sent anything to the moon before or to space. So it'll be very interesting. But that's it, folks. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Today in Space Live, this moon landing hangout. Have a great rest of your day and stay curious. And we will see you next time for another amazing space event. This one's a nail biter, but good luck, iSpace. I hope